Hello. Hello, is this thing on? Yes. Today is day 37. I have managed to survive to day 37. We have currently acquired food sustenance in a lush cave. Today is day 37. 37 days. I have managed to survive. I have been successful in surviving. Living, not so much. It's adequate. The axolotls have been keeping me company. Ah yes, you say, where are my companions? Sadly, they are no longer with me. I am the remaining inhabitant alive in this lush cave, surrounded by deep slate and more deep slate. I don't know how much longer I can take it. But here I am, on my last journey. I must find a stronghold so that I may progress. This may be my last vlog. Anyway, you know what they say. Pip pip and cheerio. Wish me luck. And may I survive.
Okay, we're starting Gucci.
Yeah, looking good.
One down. We got one down.
Oh, got another one?
Okay.
Welcome to the Minecraft 100 days that was destined to fail. A product of circumstance, the human condition, and pure bad luck. And it all starts from Day 1 may not always be the easiest, but it is the most thrilling. Each one of us would have 5 lives. 5 lives spread across 100 days. Or so we thought it was 100 days. Already we were faced with 3 immediate problems: food, shelter, and crossing this uncanny valley. I was first to cross and made it in one piece. That was then followed by Mr. Ominous, who also passaged through safely. While waiting for ᵃᵛᵃᵃ to do the same, I offered to voice chat communicate. ᵃᵛᵃᵃ would be unable to join, but Mr. Ominous would hop on.
Maayos ba yung boses ko?
Oh,
Okay. Where's ᵃᵃᵃ? Tignan ba natin siya?
antayin na lang natin.
Ah, sige. Oh, this scary, fam.
True.
Yung mga mobs, nasa taas lang siya. Holy you ran! Let's go! Where do we go from here? Let's be conservative dahil our hearts only live for 5 times.
Whoa. Okay. Gawa muna tayo ng moss block house samantala. Pick the location. Already, the inadequacies of glowberries were starting to come to light. On top of that, we couldn't do anything beyond what our fists could do. How on earth were we going to obtain bone meal without losing a life?
We need bone meal. Dito na yung base natin
Yung ginagawa ko.
Yung base natin. Ay, dito na. Tayo natin sila as a team.
Right.
Let's go!
Bro!
No way. Go, 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 go! You're gonna die, dude.
Zombie on your 6.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I got 4 hearts left.
4 hearts.
Yes!
We got
Nice! Nice! Oh dude, I only have 3 hearts left.
I got 4. We got a tree!
No, for real? Holy shit.
Finally, we had wood. But obviously, this was not enough. But it was a start. With that taking the back seat for now, food was next. Wheat was what we had for now. A slight problem with wheat is that it only yields 1 wheat per crop. And we were gonna need a lot of wheat if it was going to sustain the 3 of us. And so we necessitated a crop a little more optimized for an environment like this. And with that, we needed carrots or potatoes. To add to that, potatoes and carrots don't yield seeds, so there was less baggage, aside from the occasional poisonous potato. They also yield more crops, making them more useful than wheat, especially potatoes when there's a campfire. Until of course we could obtain gold. Golden carrots are lifesavers. Knowledge I would only apply a few days later.
We got 3 skellies here. Help me. Down.
Oh, I see it.
One down. I got one down.
Oh, got another one. He's down, and we got a free shovel.
Yeah.
Finally, we can grow crops.
Careful now. Let's not get too cocky.
True. The rest of the day was just me maintaining our crop farm. We couldn't expand it just yet. All we had for a bright enough light source was this lava. Regardless, I started to dig up some dirt and gravel. You see, something you might not know is that you can multiply the amount of dirt you have. All you needed was gravel, which this cave provided plenty of. While I was busy doing that, ᵃᵃᵃᵃ and Mr. Ominous explored the cave within the vicinity, mining for ores and minerals along the way. All of this was for the planned raiding of a nearby mine shaft that Mr. Ominous had found.
Can you spot me here? Here. Get this.
What's that? Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Let's all go, or one of us stay for the crops?
No. Let's go.
Okay. Together, for the first time, the three of us embarked on our first excursion. It was also at this time Mr. Ominous would get creative and start utilizing a lava bucket to kill mobs. After arriving at Mr. Ominous's mineshaft, we quickly got to work.
Okay, we're starting Gucci.
Yeah, looking good.
I'll light up the whole place. I'm gonna search the whole place. There's a spawner here, fighter spawner, and a lot of zombies. We got another spawner. Hindi na tayo magkaalala sa wood.
Oh, we need the strings to make a bed. Whoa!
Oh.
If we find the zombie villager, we could use that, and then we can heal it.
Wow, speaking of the devil, a zombie villager.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Come here.
We don't
Holy
have a name tag though.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. Yeah, but here, look.
Oh yeah, I
There's a
see.
zombie villager, dude.
Diamonds down there. You see that?
Oh yeah, found it.
But there's a skelly.
Just for the villager.
Alright. Sorry, villager. See you again in another life. Meron pa rin ata dun sa baba. We acquired a few good things from the mine shaft. Things were looking on the upside, but tragedy would make its cunning strike. How many diamonds
I
did
got
you
two.
get? Okay. No!
What?
He died.
Holy. Let's go.
Go back.
Go there. Oh yeah, we go back. I'm
Let's
good.
go.
What the? He died here.
Yeah. Skelly. That's revenge.
Okay, you got everything you got?
My inventory is full.
Okay, let's go. Yeah.
And with that, instinctively signaled our return to the base. We met up with ᵃᵃᵃ and returned his things. Day 2 came to a close. 1 death and 4 more lives for ᵃᵃᵃ. Days 3 to 4. I was getting hungry, and I'm pretty sure they were as well. While I was finishing up on expanding the farmland, I checked on ᵃᵃᵃ, who was starting to carve out our home on the wall of the cave. Finally, we had a bed to spawn on in case we died, which of course we were trying to minimize.
My goal is to not die.
Going into day 4, I further expanded our cropland, and therefore further secured our food sustenance. Sadly, on that day, it would be the last time Mr. Ominous would be able to voice chat. You see, something that I've learned from games like Hell Let Loose, which is a game that greatly benefits from teamwork, is that voice chat communication is always a win, being much more efficient in conveying information. And with that gone, an unfortunate chain of events, starting with the first death of ᵃᵃᵃ, was set in motion. Day 5 began with a conversation about going mining. Mr. Ominous would sit this one out, and with that, it was left to me and ᵃᵃᵃ to explore the caves.
Finding a zombie villager was a game changer, especially in an environment like this. Naturally, villages don't generate this deep in caves, and a zombie villager was the only way to obtain villagers. Now we needed some sugar for the cure, which also in this environment would be very difficult, as sugarcane 99.99% of the time does not spawn in caves. How are we gonna get sugar? With witches. Before that day ended, we made a stop by a lava lake to obtain at least 10 pieces of obsidian. This was in preparation for the day after.
Today is our first foray into the Nether. The Nether is dangerous, but everybody knows that. Our main mission is to find the cure. The cure for the zombie villager, though we are not limited solely to this mission, but free to explore the vicinity near the portal.
For this mission, Mr. Ominous would once again join us for the expedition that day. Once in the Crimson Forest, we parted ways with ᵃᵏᵃᵃ, who would go on to try and search for a fortress for the acquisition of blaze rods. The blaze rods would be needed to make a brewing stand. Meanwhile, me and Mr. Ominous would gather resources and search for the brown mushroom. With the relatively weak iron armor we were equipped with, navigating this Crimson Forest biome was especially dangerous. Voice chat communication would have been very useful here. Also at this time, Mr. Ominous was once again using the lava bucket method to kill enemies. This was working to a great effect in the overworld. But as you know, physics for lava works a little differently in the Nether, and this difference would nearly cost me a life. And with that, I thank Mr. Ominous. That encounter severely weakened my armor protection. We had to maneuver a little more cautiously than we did before. Unfortunately, we would be ill-prepared for what was to come, and tragedy again would make its cunning strike. I was able to put all of Mr. Ominous's things in the chest, which he would retrieve. We would go on to find more mushrooms and wood before returning solemnly home. ᵃᵏᵃᵃ was unable to find a fortress that day, but we had been able to obtain mushrooms. That's 1 death and 4 more lives for Mr. Ominous. An optimistic and jovial day came to a solemn close. Day 7 and 8. Day 7 and 8 was spent recuperating from the incident to take our minds off of it. We headed for the mine shaft that we raided earlier to gather resources. After that, we prepped ourselves to explore the cave further together. In our explorations, we found a ravine that exposed the musty air of the cave to the sweet fresh air, an experience that felt almost tangible through the screen. Unfortunately, Mr. Ominous would bench it halfway through the expedition, I assume partly due to the incident. ᵃᵏᵃᵃ and I would go on to find a bigger mineshaft on our own and obtain a golden apple, one step closer to curing the villagers and getting books. We returned to our humble home, and just as the day was about to end, tragedy once again made its cunning strike. 2 deaths and 3 lives for ᵃᵏᵃᵃ. In spite of all the bad that had transpired in the past days, we continued on and tried to remain strong. And on day 9, I started part 1 of a project to landscape the base, something I admittedly spent way too much time on. Though it was cathartic in a way, probably the most chill and peaceful time during the entirety of the challenge.
Well, let me have a rule and a saw and a board and I'll cut it. I'll climb up a ladder with a hammer and a nail and I'll nail it. Well, we worked so hard to build a little house together. In the snow or the rain or the ice cold wind, whenever. No matter what the weather, we're together. Saw and a board and I'll cut it. Climb up a ladder with a hammer and a nail and I'll nail it. Well, we worked so hard to build a little house together. In the snow or the rain or the ice cold wind, whenever. No matter any weather, we're together.
You'd think things would get better. They do not. Just as I jumped into the server. Tragedy had made its cunning strike in the middle of the night. You might have noticed during the montage, Mr. Ominous had been absent for the majority of days 9 to 13, becoming increasingly inactive during the day playtime hours. Mr. Ominous would be able to check in, but could only do so late at night as his days were getting increasingly busy. You could say he had a hard day's night. Despite that, me and ᵃᵏᵃᵃ would carry on with the 100 days challenge, hoping that Mr. Ominous would once again make his return. Day 14 was also the day we switched from vanilla to paper. Mining and eating was now much more streamlined. Admittedly, this was something we should have done before I did part 1 of the landscaping project. Meanwhile, ᵃᵏᵃᵃ had lured home the villager we caught earlier on day 5, also sometime during days 9 to 13. He had been able to obtain blaze rods and the sugar needed for the zombie villager cure. We now had the weakness potion, a step in the right direction, but I had a feeling it was being overshadowed by Mr. Ominous's absence and the deaths that had occurred. With the only golden apple in our possession, ᵃᵛᵃᵃ cured the very first villager in the Lush cave. The short day of day 14 came to a close. Day 15. I began to feel restless. I knew I wanted to take a break from the 5 days of landscaping, but I had nothing to do. As I was looking in the chests, I found a looting 3 book. I thought we could use this on a pickaxe, especially since there were a lot of ores around, and every time we mined something, we weren't getting the best returns we could possibly get. So on that day, I went out mining for some iron to acquire an anvil. I was in such a hurry to do so that when I finally crafted the anvil, I realized that looting was not for the pickaxe, but for the sword. An absolute bummer. I had completely forgotten that fortune was the enchantment for the pick. At least we had an anvil, I suppose. There was my little victory for the day. As day 15 was coming to a close, ᵃᵛᵃᵃ would depart the base to go and explore the cave. Picking up right from the end of day 15, I continued expanding the pathway slightly. I was minding my own business when tragedy once again made its cunning strike. Just 2 days after Mr. Ominous died, another was slain. Just like that, both ᵃᵛᵃᵃ and Mr. Ominous were now down to their penultimate life. After quickly finishing up on what I was doing, ᵃᵛᵃᵃ had found another food source, which was great, but I was getting concerned that he would die again. So I suited up and went on my way as quickly as I could. The potential alternative food source was gone. The source of the feathers was also gone. But never mind that, we had a zombie villager to bring home and cure. And that day ended with ᵃᵛᵃᵃ curing the villager off screen. Finally, we had 2 villagers Day 17. Day 17 started with me terraforming back in the pools that were formerly on the left side of the house, which I thought looked really cool, but I could never replicate it to look as good as it did before. After doing that, I landscaped here and there to improve a few things. Nothing interesting really transpired that day until the latter part, which was when I would start part 2 of my landscaping project, building a fully fledged house into the wall. This, unfortunately, was to be my very last project. It would take a whopping 13 days to complete. Yes, you heard that right. 13 days. To summarize some major events that have happened, we had finally been able to obtain 2 villagers. We had acquired food sustenance. We had gained the ability to go to the Nether, and we have so far been successful in thriving and surviving for 17 days. Sadly, on the other hand, both Mr. Ominous and ᵃᵛᵃᵃ are down to their penultimate life. Mr. Ominous was still AWOL and had not been present during recording, and voice chat communication ceased early in the game. A lot of downtime had opened up because of the progression walls, and to think it could be instantly solved had we had just even 1 sugarcane to plant. Days were seemingly stretching out longer and longer as a result. With 1/3 of the crew gone and the negative events transpiring, morale was dwindling. How much longer were we going to survive? Was I going to be the last one standing? When would Mr. Ominous come back? "33 days in. Surviving? Yes. Living? Not so much. Mr. Ominous had been AWOL for 16 days. ᵃᵛᵃᵃ had started to take some days off as he was also getting busy with things. For the past 3 days, me and ᵃᵛᵃᵃ moved our things upstairs from our old home. Apart from that, we had run out of things to do, and desperately, we needed books. Morale had plummeted dramatically, and the confines of the cave was getting to us. The mood had even started to bleed into conversation. Of all things, I found a Reddit comment that day, which somewhat resonated with the events that had transpired. The problem with Minecraft is that it's entirely based around your creativity. So if you lose inspiration, Minecraft won't be very fun. Day 33 was a long day, and we decided to take a break. After exchanging a few last words with ᵃᵛᵃᵃ, I had signed off. And that day was the last time I saw ᵃᵛᵃᵃ. A few days in real life later, I hopped into the server on day 34, and I was greeted with this sign. I accepted it, but I was all alone now. Mr. Ominous had been away for quite some time, and with how grim things were becoming, it was highly unlikely that he would return. Nevertheless, I carried on that day. It says on my notes that I went to find sugarcane, but I never got footage of it. And despite my troubles on trying to find that magical sugarcane that would spawn in a cave, I got nothing. Alas, we arrive on day 37.
Hello. Hello, is this thing on? Yes. Today is day 37. I have managed to survive to day 37. We have currently acquired food sustenance in a lush cave. Today is day 37. 37 days I have managed to survive. I have been successful in surviving. Living, not so much. It's adequate. The axolotls have been keeping me company. Ah yes, you say, where are my companions? Sadly, they are no longer with me. I am the remaining inhabitant alive in this lush cave, surrounded by deep slate and more deep slate. I don't know how much longer I can take it. But here I am, on my last journey. I must find a stronghold, so that I may progress. This may be my last vlog. Anyway, you know what they say. Pip pip and cheerio. Wish me luck. And may I survive.
There was no stronghold. I refused to believe so. And in my incredulity, I pushed one last display of determination. But this turned out to be my one last display of recklessness. "40 days, 40 nights is a long time for anyone.
Dude, I only have 3 hearts left.
We got a tree.
No, first, oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
They say the young and blissful seek conflict in order to
Nice.
quench their thirst of the thrill. In newfound conflict, the semblance of familiarity is in actuality a venture into the unknown. A revenant wanders through it. But what's puzzling you is the nature of its game.
It's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, there's a oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, there's a oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, oh, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, trailer, there's a mo, it's a beast,